iRacing's latest update just dropped with some new cars, updated tracks and a brand new in-game user interface. As possibly the world's most respected iRacer, I'm going to tell you in this video whether or not the update is game changing, what you should look for, what you should look out for, and whether or not iRacing is worth your time. Some people are saying that they're tired of me saying that you should subscribe to gain the ability to unsubscribe. Unfortunately for them, I never subscribe to their messages, so I can't unsubscribe to what I haven't subscribed to. If you can subscribe to that view, subscribe so that when you change your mind, you can unsubscribe. Click the like button if you're as confused as I am. And thank you to all our channel members. It is indeed all your fault. I am innocent. How game-changing is the new update? Well, I would say it's reasonably game-changing, especially the new user interface. The word new might be a bit of a stretch. It's new for iRacing, but the design and the styling of it is somewhat of the 2007 era, with monstrous amounts of beveling, some interesting text colour choices, and useless empty space that requires your eyes to travel through 3 solar systems to get to the information that you actually want to look at. The new UI also seems to cause some pauses and stutters when you go from one menu to another, and even when some flags are displayed. I'm sure that's some teething problems that they will iron out, or at least I hope they do, because that's terrible. But other than that, it is a nice welcome change to have a bit of a spring clean and a little bit more of a shiny user interface. One of the biggest and most important features of the new UI is that you can now see yours and other people's iRating in the relative display, as well as their safety rating. So you don't need to go to external applications like Race Labs to compare EPEAN, which is the main reason why most people are playing iRacing. Unfortunately, unlike some of the external applications, it doesn't show you preemptively what you will gain and lose, it just shows you other people's ratings. So despite having other examples of exactly what iRacers want and are willing to pay for outside of iRacing, iRacing decided to ignore that and do their own thing. But, you know, it's something and it's a little bit better than what you had before, so good job iRacing. Now, other things like your wheel calibration page and your button binding and all that stuff has changed. You could argue it's a little bit better. It does seem to make a little bit more sense in terms of layout from the previous one, where some settings were in rather weird places. There is no search box though, and I'm not really quite sure how it's that much better than the previous one, but it looks a little bit nicer, so there is that going for it. Well done, iRacing. All told, the UI is, as I say, a nice little bit of different UI, looks a bit different, maybe is a little bit easier to use in some ways, and is something that's probably long overdue. But yes, it's probably not the most exciting thing to ever happen to iRacing. Now, in terms of the tracks, they have updated Charlotte, North Wilkesboro, Sonoma, and Worldwide Technology Raceway, as well as Daytona, Chicago, COTA, Texas, Watkins Glen, and what we're driving here, Alton Park. I only tried Sonoma and Alton Park, but the tracks do look really nice, really good quality track models. You'll notice there's some glitching and bugging out in the trees. I think that's just a week 13 thing, some setting that they'll probably have fixed by the time week 13 has ended. But yeah, the nice details around the tracks, more objects populating them, and of course the tracks themselves, curbing and all the little micro details are all really nicely updated. Now, I wouldn't say Alton Park is anything to sing home about, but that's probably because the track is mostly fields and trees in real life, so with the trees looking terrible, the track's going to look pretty terrible. But you know, there's more details at the side of the track, which is nice. Sonoma, though, definitely looks a lot more next-gen, a lot more modern as far as racetracks go, and much more in line with some of the newer racing simulators out there. A downside of that, though, is that I still get super weird performance in iRacing. We're using an X3D chip with a 5090. We should not be struggling at times on not even the highest settings to get 115 FPS minimums. I use G-Sync, but even with G-Sync, we sometimes drop to like 100 or 95 FPS when the game looks like something from quite a time back. So you know, yeah, the tracks are nice having these details, but dear God, iRacing really needs to update its fundamental game engine to sort these performance issues out. A lot of the performance issues are not even necessarily related to the tracks, but to the numbers of cars on the tracks and just weird things. It's really hard to get very predictable results from iRacing. It varies massively from track to track. They are working on new graphics, but we don't know when that's actually going to happen. That said though, I do always and have always liked the underlying road scan quality in iRacing, the actual curbing details, the cambers, the bumps, the tiny road track details, the stuff that matters, the driving surface. I've always felt that iRacing has done a really good job on that, and the tracks, especially when they're more recent scans, do line up really well to the real world. So people that are practicing layouts will find that the tracks in iRacing line up very well to the real world layout. So that's good that iRacing have for decades been very consistent and were one of the early simulators to always insist on very high quality road surfaces. And to have tracks be updated that you've already bought is something that's definitely needed and something that I think should always be encouraged from a service where you pay a monthly fee that often has tracks that are incredibly out of date. So good job iRacing. Now in terms of the new cars, we've only really driven this Dallara IL15. It's kind of like the Super Formula Light of Indy cars. It's a bit of a weird one, I have to admit, for iRacing to add this car into the service. Not that it's terrible, it's like a slightly lower grip Super Formula Light, so you're basically just going to be pillaging users from Super Formula Light and this, further diluting the competition that you'll get in either series. That aside though, I do think this is quite a fun car to drive. It is quite nice to slide around a bit. The engine note sounds really good. It sounds a bit like a Hoover or one of those keyboard jets to blow dirt off your keyboard, the transmission whine. But I feel like the audio is actually quite satisfying to listen to. Again, another great thing about iRacing is it might not have the most exciting audio, but I've always felt that you can tell what RPM you're at and what kind of speed you're at, and if you're at a different RPM to when you were previously lapping, just from the audio, because even though it might sound a bit flat and not that exciting, it's detailed. The audio's detailed. It doesn't have like obvious looping to it. I actually find the audio really quite immersive in iRacing. Controversial, I know, a lot of people disagree, but that is something I actually quite like about this simulator. With this IndyCar Light as well, I really like the steering wheel that they've got, which has the sort of tape on it for, you know, for the driver to hold on to make the wheel feel a little bit better. And I actually think that looks awesome. It's a small detail, it's a silly detail. Someone goes and ends their race. It's a silly detail, a small detail, but I really like that. I would recommend, however, though, if you're playing with the wheel close to your monitor, turn the in-game steering wheel off. It'll feel more immersive. But for those of you that have an in-game wheel on the screen, maybe you're using the dash board that's on the in-game steering wheel for the information of the car, having that nice steering wheel graphic will make things more immersive and just more pleasurable. Good job, iRacing. It wouldn't be a Game of Muscle video without me pointing out the obvious physics aspects of iRacing. No, they haven't sorted out the tyre model with any of the new vehicles, the GT3 cars, the GT4, nothing. Nothing has fixed iRacing's underlying physics. You have to drive everything preemptively as if it were a bobsled. If you go into slip, the tyres keep losing grip. It doesn't spring back as you would expect a slick tyre to, and you can't productively hold neutral steer in a natural way or balanced slip in a natural way. iRacing's never done that and probably never will. So if you're expecting huge tyre model changes with the new cars, well, expect again, because I don't think it's ever going to happen. That said though, you will find with the lighter formula cars in iRacing, when you get a bit of speed, the downforce obviously pins the car to the track more, but it also then makes the grip of the tyres behave more naturally. This was also a thing in R-Factor 1 with a lot of mods in that. The downforce made cars just behave a lot more naturally, as what you would expect. So I think this car ends up being a lot more fun to drive than many other vehicles in iRacing, and that's also why I personally prefer the old F3 car, the old F2, was it Star Mazda, F4 Super Formula Light. I feel that they drive more interestingly in iRacing once you're going at a decent speed. And this Indy Light car, as I say, it's like a weird, more towards F4 and maybe the old F3 car in handling dynamics than the Super Formula Light, which is a lot more seemingly bitey and grippy. At least from what we can tell so far with the setups that we've driven on this new Indy car. So if you're a fan of the old F3, F4 and Super Formula Light, I think you will really enjoy this vehicle. It will obviously really depend on participation as to if the races are going to be good with it. Good job, iRacing. Now, a big question. As an outsider that plays lots of different racing simulators, it's very apparent that iRacing has some of the worst game design in the industry, as well as some of the worst netcode in the industry. You will see people online saying, iRacing has fantastic netcode. Those people are obviously utterly clueless when it comes to actually playing the sim. I don't think they probably play it that much, because anybody that does play iRacing, especially in Formula cars, will be aware of how excruciatingly terrible the netcode is in iRacing. The netcode smoothing is fantastic and how it visually looks is fantastic, but what's not fantastic are invisible contacts due to client-server mismatch, and then what's not fantastic is totally randomised damage, where one time nothing happens despite you literally driving through a vehicle, and another time a mosquito farts on your wheel and your car explodes. So they've still not dialed that in. My suggestion to iRacing is that they need to basically reduce car contact damage in half at least, and then they also need to make it so that the impact force from one car to another car is reduced. If only we had an example of this working really well, and that's showing you how much more natural the racing is when that's done. Oh, right, we do. R-Factor 2, Le Mans Ultimate, and actually many other simulators. Good job, iRacing. You'll be glad to know as well that they've kept the meatball flag that you get when people tap you and your car is completely drivable with no discernible issue whatsoever. In fact, you can be completely competitive, absolutely nothing visually wrong with the car, and you get a meatball flag. That's really good game design, and I find that really helps keep the intensity and excitement of races up. So it's nice that they've done a new user interface, updated tracks, sold more cars, sold more content, and kept that fantastic piece of game design. Good job, iRacing. Now, one thing that I actually was really surprised about how good it was, and I'm not even sure if they made a thing about this, or maybe I didn't notice it in previous updates, but it seemed to be something that stood out in this update, is the particle effects for when cars go off-road. Obviously they've got the thing where the road gets dirty, when debris gets brought onto the track, and I think that's fantastic, but the actual particle effects of grass being kicked up or stones being kicked up and then them flying into your face, it seems like they've improved the number of those particles, or the movement of those particles, and maybe even the physics of those particles, and it looks absolutely fantastic. I've not tried it in VR, but I'm sure it's even better in VR. I have been in a real car on a track with pebbles kicked up in my face, and it is something that's hard not to notice as they click against the bodywork and your helmet. So it's really good. That's actually a really, really good thing. I really like that. It's a silly thing, it's stupid, but I think it's something that iRacing have absolutely nailed and really helps make the world feel more real, more consequential, and less like a 3D model that you're sort of driving over, and more like something that's actually interacting with the vehicle. Good job, iRacing. So, all told with the update, iRacing is still iRacing. It is absolute torture to play, probably one of the most frustrating racing simulators and video games ever made by the human species. It can still be great fun to play. It definitely simulates taking money out of your bank account just like a real car would, so that's probably why it is also the most realistic racing simulator. And yeah, a lot of people can have fun playing it if you really understand its shortcomings and don't mind being abused by a sim racing developer. I will continue racing it. It's great for live streaming. It's great that you've got races all the time, any time of the day in multiple different cars, as well as Tesco's roundabout racing, which Americans seem to be obsessed with. I don't really understand why, but maybe it's because they don't have that many roundabouts, so makes sense, I guess. Other racing simulators could learn a lot from iRacing's camera settings. They could learn a lot from having voice chat, which is pure entertainment. And ultimately, due to the sheer number of people hunting EP in iRacing, you won't find another sim with as much competition in it and as many lost souls. So there you go. That is an absolute on the money rundown and view of the game-changing update that iRacing has had. Look at that beautiful 4X there. I deserve to be penalised for that. Classic iRacing. Good job, iRacing. Till the next one though, thanks for watching this. I will see you guys soon. Happy tea drinking, take care, and goodbye.